Greetings, greetings, and greetings once again. So today we're going to continue the deities of the zones of blue. 1 second. And I would like to kind of back it up and give it a review for context. So, what's going on with this part of the Bhagavatam is that, sorry, you can tell it's a little distracting. What's going on with this part of the Bhagavatam is the section on astronomy started. So that started in chapter 16. And it was very intense. It was very intensely astronomical, let's say. So Shuka's main focus is teaching Krishna Prema, not astronomy. So after this chapter on 16, what he does is he uses the astronomy framework as a basis to give some spiritual lessons, which is his main intent. So he's going to give some spiritual lessons based on some simple astronomical facts. And that's what goes on in chapter 17 and 18 and the beginning of 19. So the second half of 17, the whole 18, and the first bit of 19. It's him saying there's a particular deity in this particular section of the world, and based on the qualities of that particular section of the world, this deity represents that, and this particular lesson in relation with that deity and the bhakta for that deity comes out. In doing so, he not only gives you a spiritual lesson, but he gives you a lesson about the astronomy and the astrology. I thought of this like if sometimes we say these are like when you use a metaphor, both ends of the metaphor are clarified. So for example, if we say these sunglasses are shaped like cat's eyes, you learn something about the sunglasses and you learn something about a cat's eye, what cats look like or what humans think cats look like. Right? So similarly, when he uses the astronomy as the basis for metaphors that give spiritual instructions, you're still learning about the astronomy, still clarifying the astronomy, because it's the one side of the metaphor. So what we should do to begin with is just see what he's given us so far, and then we'll finish up, because we're kind of finishing up a major section today. Let me just see one thing here. Here we go. Okay. So I'll put this on the screen now. The deity, and I'll move out of the way. Deities of Boo's zones. I guess I'll go like this. So what we'll do is you take the earth and we'll divide it into these 4 cardinal directions: east, south, west, and north. Those are called Padrashva, Hari, Ketumala, and Ramika. East, south, west, and north. Those, if you remember from the astronomy section in chapter 16, there's actually 9 divisions, but they're in all sorts of different categories. So the Kendrick divisions, the Kendras, are these 4. In fact, you can kind of notice that you've basically started to draw a astrology chart. like this, haven't you? So there's also one additional place, which is in the center, and that's called Ilavrita. These then are the 5 basic spots. So when he does the life lessons based on Ilavrita, like when he talks about the deity of Ilavrita, you get a lot of clarification of the astronomy that he gave in chapter 16, because it's a lot about the sun, really. The sun's relationship with the earth is really being described in the metaphor of the spiritual stuff going on there. Then around the outside, the east, south, west, and north, he goes in that direction. He goes in that order, east, south, west, and north, because that's the classical order. It's the way that the sun goes around the earth in the course of a day. Apparent movement. The metaphor that you're learning about here is not so much what modern people would call astronomical, more like what we would call astrological, which is great for us because that's what we like, right? We like astrology. So what he's really doing here is he's really clarifying the cardinal directions and the elements associated with each cardinal direction: fire, earth, air, and water. And he's conveying a clear and deep sense of what each element signifies. That's the non-spiritual content. That's the non-direct Krishna Prema content of this chapter. The indirect content is, what is the fire element? The fire element is in the east. What does it signify? The earth element is in the south. What does it signify? So let's go through now and just remember what the key points were from each section, and then we'll finish up. Currently our new section is North Ramyaka. Oh, let me get rid of that one thing. So let me see. Okay, let me just get rid of this one thing obscuring. Boom. Even when I sit over here, I'm still kind of in the way. I'll just go like this. It's not as beautiful as I would like it, but it works. Okay, so in Ilavrita, the deity is Sankarshan. The deity of the center of the earth is Sankarshan, who's in the center of the earth, right? So now you get the sense, center doesn't mean something on the surface. Center means the core. Ilavrita is not actually literally the core, but it's the outer core, the mantle of the globe. Meru is the core. So in here, the themes that were being discussed in here when Bhava was expressing devotion to Sankarshan was mostly about gravity, because literally Sankarshan means gravity. So we were hearing about gravity and mass, how gravity forms mass, and mass gives shape or form to things. And the gravity is the power center of things. So we were hearing about relative power of things, relative mass, how the sun's gravity conquers the earth's gravity, holds the earth's gravity in place. Even though the earth has gravity, it's only because it was given that gravity by the sun. The mass of the earth was collected due to the gravity of the sun, etc., 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 etc. All those kind of astronomical lessons were illustrated by the Bhakta, Bhava, Rudra Shiva, expressing his devotion to Sankarshan, because the relationship between the earth and the sun is identical to the relationship between Atma and Paramatma. So then from Ilavrita, that was at the end of chapter 17. Then we moved into chapter 18 and we came to the east. And we heard about the deity Hayashirsha. Hayashirsha is worshipped in the east by Dharma Sutta. So this direction is the direction of the sunrise and the ascending equinox. So it's the first house and it's Aries, because the sunrise, the eastern horizon, defines the first house, and the ascending equinox defines Aries. And hence this house and this sign are fire. They're the heads of the fire trine. It's the root of the fire trine. So what we're going to, by learning the things, or by hearing the things that are discussed in this section between Dharma Sutta and Haishirsha, I mean from Dharma Sutta to Haishirsha, you learn about the fire element. You learn what it's all about. So for example, we heard about Dharma. That's what fire is all about, Dharma. We heard about vision, or clarity, knowing the difference between one thing and another. That was odd. Something weird popped up on my computer. Knowing the difference between one thing and another. Light, having clarity, having knowledge, having awareness. Knowledge, right? And time was actually a big theme here, because of the sunrise, the passing of time, the non-awareness of things, darkness compared to light, because that's what Haishirsha did. Really, was Haishirsha was rescued light from darkness. He rescued from the demon of darkness. He rescued the Vedas of light. So he's sunrise-ish, where the earth is rescued from the darkness of the night by the sunrise. Okay, then from here we moved into the south. South is called Hari, and here is Narahari. The deity here is Narahari. In the east, it's called the Ashva. Ashva means horse. So here's Ashva-shirsha, horse head. In the south, it's Hari, so we have Narahari or Narasingha. The purpose of it, first of all, is downward, is towards Danavas. It's the lower heavens. Starts with Danavas and Deities, so that's why Prahlad and Narsingha are in this region of Bu, the greater earth. And also, the main thing is, this is the direction that goes downward. So it goes into the ground, and this is direction that points to the southern solstice. So this is pointing towards 4th house and to 10th sign. The 4th house and Capricorn. 4th house, that's odd. It should probably be 10th. So put the house thing on hold. Let's just look at it as it's pointing to the southern solstice. And since the southern solstice is the 10th sign, perhaps we're also talking about the 10th house. In any case, what we're talking about here was Aquarius. The southern solstice is the root of the earth trine. So the descriptions here of what Prahlad is going to be talking about, and what Prahlad is going to be, how Prahlad is going to be worshiping Nrsimha, is going to have to do with earth themes. It's going to illustrate what is the earth element all about. What does earth element signify? And everything that Prahlad talks about has to do with artha. What is really worth anything? So he talks about health, wealth, beauty, and prosperity. What's real? What things are really worth pursuing? Things that are of value, or are they of value or not? He's talking about value and worth and health, wealth, beauty, and prosperity, and those are the themes of the earth element. So the fire element, the theme is clarity, decisiveness, ability to make a decision, clarity, decisiveness, decisions. The element of earth is all about prosperity, which means health and wealth and beauty. Then from here, Shuka took the conversation to Ketumala, where the deity is Kamadev and the Bhakta is Lakshmi. So Kama is for the air element. So this is pointing to, let's say, the western horizon, the 7th house, and it's pointing to the descending equinox. The western horizon is the definer of the 7th house, and the descending equinox is the definer of Libra. So he's talking about the qualities of Libra, which is the root of the air element. He's talking about the air element, which is rooted in Libra, the qualities of the air element. The trine is based on Libra. So from Libra, it goes to Gemini and Aquarius. Similarly for the earth element, the trine is based on Capricorn. And from Capricorn, it goes to Taurus and Virgo. For fire, the basis of the trine is Aries. And from Aries, it goes to Leo and Sagittarius. So what did we hear about when we heard about Lakshmi's conversation with Kamdev is all about desire. It's all about kama. Desire, romance, pleasure, sexuality. That's what air is all about. Interaction between people. It's very conversational. She's having a conversation with him more so than any other places. It is all about how you should fulfill your desires, how your desires might not be fulfilled. That's what air is all about. So from there, we then move into a new section. The section that we'll look at today. I'll give you a little preview of what this is going to be about. The north is pointing to the northern solstice. The north is pointing, yeah, that's right, actually. The south is actually pointing to the apex. That's the question about 10th house and so forth. The south actually points to the apex for a northern-centric person. And the Parikshit is giving this talk to a northerner. So this he's not concerned that you have to flip it around at that point, because for him it works well. The earth element is there and there. And then the north, it points to the nadir of the sun, right? And it also points to the northern solstice. So it's going to talk about the 4th house and the 4th sign. So it's pointing to the northern area is pointing towards the ecliptic at Cancer, because the definer, just like the nadir is the definer of the 4th house, the northern solstice is the definer of Cancer, the 4th sign. So Cancer is the root or the basis for the water trine, which also extends to include Scorpio and Pisces. So the incarnation here, or the deity of this zone of Bu, is a fish. Matsya. Matsya is the fish avatar. So really, west was human. And we have a humanoid form in the west. We have a semi-humanoid forms in the east and the south, but it's kind of like there's a horse in the east, a lion in the south, a human in the west, and a fish in the north. Kind of interesting. But anyway, the fish is obvious. It's for the water element. And what are we going to hear here? I don't know if I filled it in. Okay, I filled it in. So the fish, of course. We hear about nourishment, the power of unseen things, and floods. So really the point is that the point about that we should learn about the water element is that water represents the inner being, which is the actual cause of life and vitality, nourishment, strength, health in the body. It's from the mind and the emotions. And the power of the thing which is unseen. The unseen thing. Well, like water is so powerful, but you don't think it's powerful. You think it's soft. But it causes mudslides. It wrecks mountains. It moves rocks. So similarly, water, it's behind the scenes, but it's the driver of everything. It's the actual driver. So that's the recap. Any questions about those points that we recapped there? So there's actually 9 zones to Bu, but this only shows 5. That's because there's 2 further north and 2 further south. So after we do this section on Matsya and Ramyaka, which we'll do today, then there's going to be 2 further north. The next one is also going to be an aquatic animal. And that's going to be the turtle, the avatar. That's more to the north. And then after that, you get a boar, which is not really an aquatic animal, but the pastime of the boar, the lila of the boar was that he went into the ocean to bring up the dirt, to bring up the sea level, to bring up the earth. So everything here is connected with water to the north. When you get to the 2 remaining sections heading southward, it's actually not going to have more lionish or something. It becomes humanoid. And this is because it's leading to describe the earth that we know, the earth of human beings. Remember, Bhagavatam's astronomy deals with the earth on several different harmonics, let's say, or on several different levels or layers. There's 9 different versions of Earth, according to this cosmology. And they're increasingly bigger and bigger, although they all have the same structure. They're just magnified or diminished. So as he'll describe the things coming down from the south, he's going to describe Rama, and then Nara, the incarnation called Nara Narayan, the humans. That's what we have on our plate. So let's see if there's any questions. Something is being typed. Good. And also, thank you, somebody. Who is that? Thank you, Heidi. Okay. All right, let's go forward then. We'll get rid of this now. Back to Bengal. And then we will go here. That's quite small. Yeah, that's readable. All right, so in the 24th text, Ramyakecha Bhagavata Priyatamam Matsyam Avatara Rupam Tadvarsha Purushasya Mano Prak Pradarshitam Sa Idanim Apima Hatha Bhakti Yogena Aradhyatidam Chodaharati. In Ramyaka, that's the northern zone, Bhagavan's beloved form as a fish. This is very cool. I always thought this was really cool, that Vishnu is not just humanoid. There's all kinds of hybrid forms and fully animal forms as well. So even a fish, Vishnu has a form as a fish. That's called the Matsya avatars. It sounds like it's got a special name, Matsya, but Matsya means fish. Ramyakecha Bhagavat. In Ramyaka, Bhagavan's beloved form as a fish, which was previously revealed to Manu. So this is also very interesting of how cyclicity works. And this is something that's probably causes a stumper for people who are maybe trying to reconcile empirical evidence with Puranic evidence. So for example, Puranic evidence is talking about yugas that are fantastically long and human beings existing in these yugas millions of years ago, but archaeological evidence, for example, is talking about the oldest Homo sapiens being about 200, 300,000 years old. So this is the thing about cyclicity. Things may develop. You may go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and get to 10, and then it's because it's a cycle. Just like after you get December, what do you get? What's the next month after December? It's January, the first month. So how can 1 come after 12? But 1 comes after 12 because it's a circle. The time moves in a circle. 1 comes 12 after and before 12. On a circular timeline, not on a linear timeline. So that's the thing with the universe having cyclic time. It kind of makes it a little difficult to understand that you may indeed not find any human skulls prior to some date before that, because there may have been a long span of time when there was no humans. And then there may have been, again, in another cycle before that. So when he says here, prak pradarshitam, it means at the beginning of one of these cycles. There's these cycles which are 72 Chatur Yugas long, called Manvantaras, which would be archaeological stumpers because they tend to erase everything previous, because there's gigantic catastrophes in between them. And Matsya is an avatar that appears in that situation to enable some form of transition from one thing to the next. Bhavana has a question. Yes. Yes, Bhavana. In Ramyaka, Bhagavan's beloved form as a fish, which was previously revealed to Manu, is adored even to this day by him, with great bonds of affection using this incantation. Bhagavan's form as a fish is appropriate for the northern zone because north is associated with water. Next one. Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhyatamaya Namasattvaya Pranaya Ojase Sahase Balaya Mahamatsyaya Namah Iti. That's Manu's mantra for worshipping Matsya. Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhyatamaya. It means obeisances to Bhagavan's first avatar. Why was it first? Because first, like January is the first month. It's first because it happens in the first of a cycle. That's the beginning of a cycle. Which is also interesting on the evolutionary model as well. The human avatars don't come till later in the cycles. Obeisances to Bhagavan's first avatar, and then he says, Namasattvaya pranayojase sahase balaya. This is kind of important for understanding what the water element symbolizes in astrology. He names Matsya Sattva, Prana, Ojas, Sahasa, and Bala. So those words, Sattva means force, or like stability. Something that is true, that exists and is real. Sattva is a meaning of something having integrity, not being dissolvable, being real. Is that water itself, really? Water is the solvent. So water is the most sattvic of the elements. Fire is not sattvic. Fire is rajasic. And similarly, air is rajasic. And earth is tamasic. This is very easy to envision from just starting with sattva at the top in the north, and then the east and west are the next layer down, rajas, and then the bottom layer is tamas, the earth. Tamas things are very solid, real. That's why they're tamasic. They're dark and heavy. Rajasic things catalyze new events. That's why it's air and fire. And sattva is just something that unites everything. And that's what water does by being solvent, and allows perception of things. By uniting the things, it allows cognition between the things, it allows contact between the things, so it allows perception. So he's describing Matsya as sattva, and in doing so, he's conveying metaphorically that the element of the northern direction is sattvic, which means that it will increase your awareness of things. It will increase sensitivity. Prana. Prana is vitality. Is the way you feel after you take a deep breath. When you get a lot of prana into your body, you get energized. So it's vitality or energy. This is the nature of water, the element. It's not energetic itself. Water doesn't ignite, right? Fire and air are very energetic. But water is the key to all of the metabolism. Without water, nothing can be solulized. That's why in the body, fire is encased in water and becomes acid. And acid is useful because it can solubilize things, and then the fire can eat it, digest it. And then it can be distributed, contact other things. So really, we do not really get energy. We get the immediate sense of being energized and enthusiastic from fire and air. The people with a lot of fire signs, people with a lot of air signs, they seem very enthusiastic and enlivened. But they have short-term bouts of enthusiasm and enlivenment. They turn on and turn off. But people with a lot of water signs, they have a constant, steady, quiet enlivenment. They're always interested. But they're not really loudly showing their interest or displaying their interest, but they're always interested in what's going on. They're always thinking about what's going on. Because they're prana. Ojas is very similar. It's like virility, fertility. Water, of course, is the element of fertility. Water combining with earth makes things grow. Water is required. Water is lubricative. Water is soluble. Things will travel in water. Things can move with water. The baby is born in water. The baby develops in the womb in water. Water is the mother. Life comes out of the oceans. The avatar is the first. The fish is the first avatar. So water is really the source of life. So it's motherish. It's feminine. It's female. Sahasa. Sahasa is like enthusiasm. When you are hydrated, you have energy. When you're dehydrated, you just get a headache. You don't have any sahasa. You don't really want to do anything when you're dehydrated. Balaya, also strength. So really, water is the primary nourishment of the body. If you just drink water, you'll still be fine, healthy for a long time without even eating much at all. Water is the primary food that we need. The primary nourishment. So there you go. There's an example of how he's describing the water element by talking about a particular avatar. Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhyatamaya Nama Sattvaya Pranayojase Sahase Balaya Mahamatsyaya Nama, the great fish. Obeisance to the great fish. Any questions on that? You're welcome, Enrique. Okay. Many nice water emojis. Then let's look at 26. Antar Bahishchakila Lokapalakayar. This is Manu thinking, really. This is the thought process of Manu. So when you use a mantra, it's useless unless you're thinking about the mantra. The only use of doing a mantra without thinking about it is that maybe you'll happen to think about it. If you don't do it at all, maybe you probably have no chance of coming to think about it. But the only real value in doing a mantra is when it's dhyan or thoughtful, when you're thinking about it. So in all these zones, Shuka explains the mantra which is used and then the thoughts that are involved in the words of that mantra. So this is Manu's thoughts. Antar Bahishchakila Lokapalakaya. Adrishtarupo Vicharasyurusvana. Sa Ishvaratam Yaidam Vashenyam Namna Yatha Darumayim Narastriyam. Unseen by all the protectors of the world, you are diverged within and outside of all named things, and you have your own great existence as well. That being is you, the master in control of everything, like a person with a dancing puppet. Just super good stuff. So this is water, the water element. It's very feminine. Feminine nature is inward. Many times people ask if women are smarter than men, then why are all the great blah blah blahs men? Because those are the loud people. They're the ones that got noticed because they were loud about their ideas. So that's the thing about the water element. It's unseen. Its power, its force is monumental, yet it's unseen. Unseen by all the protectors of the world. So now he's going to compare the Matsya avatar with all the other gods. All these other big gods, god of this, god of that, they couldn't do jack to help Manu when the cycle of time was, when it was finishing 1231, when it was finishing its cycle and going into that Sandhi, that catastrophe that resets. But this fish appeared out of the ocean and saved everything. So that's how that's what water is like. You don't see anybody's emotions. You don't hear their emotions, you hear their ideas. You hear their words. You don't see the emotions. They can talk about their emotions. They can try to express their emotions on their face, but you don't actually see them directly. But they're the force behind everything. So then he says, Antar Bahis, you are inside and outside of everything. So water is the solvent that allows combinations of other things. So therefore it's part of everything. But yet it's also water. It is also its own thing. So it's Antar and Bahis. Bahi. Anta and Bahi. It's within things, but it's also outside of things. It's the same thing with God. God is the solvent. God is the substance of everything. So God is the thing that's in everything. But it doesn't mean that there's not also a being. Just like water is in my body. But that doesn't mean that I can't have a glass of water. I mean, water is in my rice. But that doesn't mean I can't have a glass of water with my rice. Water is in everything, but it's also outside of everything. And so same thing with God and Bhagavan. Akila lo. Okay. Vicharasi and urusvana. So svanna is an interesting poetic word. It's kind of probably going to be impossible to translate it. I can't do these kind of double meanings very well with English translation, but svanna also means the sound that water makes. When water makes a very pleasant sound. People like to fall asleep by hearing the sound of water, but when water gets going, it makes a very terrifying sound like thunder. So that's how powerful water is. Although it's a very pleasant thing and it's a very nourishing and helpful thing, it's extremely powerful too. That's one meaning of the word svanna. But svanna also means sva, na, your own existence. Your own existence. So vicharasa means you're moving with all things, but also you have your own movements. Bhagavan is like that. You have to understand that. You have to understand that God is not just your facilitator. This is a big deal if we can understand this. God is not just Paramatma, God is Bhagavan. God is not just your facilitator, the person who's helping you experience your life and so forth. That's fine, God is that, but God is also a person unto itself. That you might want to facilitate instead of just being facilitated by. You might want to participate with, you might want to interact with. Sa Isharas Tvam Ya Idam Vashenyam. Okay, unseen by all the protectors of the world, you are diverged within and outside of all named things, and you have your own great existence as well. Sa Ishwaratvam, that being is you, the master in control of everything. You're a fish. What do you mean? What are you in control of? No, this is the one that saved everybody when nobody else could do anything. Sa Ishwaratvam Yadam Vashenyam. You're the one that's in control of everything else. Here, all of this stuff. Just like yata, daru mayim striya. What's a daru mayi striya? Literally means a woman made out of wood. Daru mayi striya. But it means like when you have a dancer, a puppet dancer. Like a dancer is a striya, and a daru mayi striya is a puppet dancer. Nara is a person who is the puppeteer behind the puppet dancer. So it means what Manu is saying is that Matsya is the puppeteer behind all the events going on. All right, any questions about that? Similarly, the water element, what he's conveying really is the water element is the real motivator of the actions. It's really our feelings and our emotions that drive everything else in our life and control everything else in our life. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The next one is Yam Lokapala Kila Matsara Jvara. So here's another play on words that's difficult to put into English. Matsya is the name of a fish, and Matsya is another word that means something else. Matsya means fish, and Matsya, it can mean anger or envy, jealousy, or it can mean attachment. Like when you want something, it's Matsya. So there's kind of 2 or 3 meanings that Shuka is dealing with at one time because he's a poet. But also what he's doing now is when he thinks of expressing to Matsya that you're the real one in control of everything, Matsya would say, what do you mean? Obviously, everybody else is in control of things. Everybody else is in control. Like, I'm not controlling you're going to work and getting salary. You're controlling that. So he's addressing that point now. Yam lokapala kila matsara jvara hitvaya tantopi pratak sametacha patum nashekur dvipadas chatuspadas sarishripam sthanu yad atra drishyate. Without you, all the protectors of the world cannot protect anyone we see here in this world. If I'm going to edit this for the English, I would get rid of this. But sometimes trying to be too literal with the translation gives you a lousy translation. Without you, all the protectors of the world cannot protect anyone. 2-legged, 4-legged, no-legged, or stationary. Neither alone nor cooperatively, and not even if they endeavor with utmost fervency. So remember in the previous section, Lakshmi said she criticized the men and the women in Kama because they're stupid about how they try to fulfill their desires, and they think that the men think that they can act as a husband, and the women think that these men are qualified to be husbands. So the natural question was, well, what do I do? I'm a man. So I gave some kind of reply about that, which is basically what Manu is saying right now too. Without you, all the protectors of the world cannot protect anyone. So that implies that protectors of others can protect other people only as conduits for the real protector. And the gods and the husbands and everybody, they're not really the protectors. They're not really the god or the protector or the husband. It's really Bhagwan who's doing that through other people. And you might say, why does he have to say Dvi padas tachus para sarishtam and stanu? It could be that he wants to show the different zodiac signs. I mean, why does he have to say 2-legged, 4-legged, no-legged, stationary? Maybe he wants to reference that all of the zodiac divisions, all the ecliptic divisions are really empowered on the water element. Or it's maybe just because it's like it's a kind of a Noah's Ark situation. There's a gigantic catastrophic flood. It's not really a Noah's Ark situation, but it's like there's a tiny boat. And except for this fish, everything gets destroyed by the water, but the fish rescues some things so that when the water subsides, it doesn't have to be trillions of years before the next cycle gets rolling. It can just be millions. So there's some 2-legged things, some 4-legged things, some no-legged things, and some stationary things that were protected. That might be why he's saying that. And then the Matsya Jvara thing means, one of the meaning is people don't really like each other. Matsya Jvara means they're burning with envy. Since they're burning with envy, how can they be a pati? How can they be a protector? You can't protect somebody you hate. I mean, you wouldn't be impelled to. What does he mean that they're burning with envy? It's like we're all competitive with each other. Because at some point we need the same thing at the same time. And it's hard to divide the resources, especially if you need 3 cookies and there's 3 cookies. And if you take 1.5 cookies, you won't get what you need. So therefore, actually, in this world, which is devoid of cognition of Bhagavan, there's no ultimate cooperation between entities. Therefore, there's actually hatred towards each other. And because of this hatred towards each other, we can't actually protect each other. That's one of the implications that Manu is expressing here. Another implication of Matsya Dvara is people are attached. Matsya, they want things, and Dvara, they hate things. They want things, or they want to destroy things. They want to get things, or they want to get rid of the things. So therefore, they have their own self-interest. It's again the same meaning. Everybody has their own self-interest. How can they be a protector of somebody else? But the third meaning of Matsya Dvara is Matsya means with a lot of interest, with a lot of effort, with a lot of passion. And Dvara means the fever. You get a lot of heat. So when you work really hard with a lot of passion, you tend to overheat. Matsya Dvara. So what he's saying in this sense is, even when these Lokapalas work so hard as they possibly can, they still can't do it. They still can't protect people in all circumstances. But you naturally can, because you're the fish. You're Bhagavan. Okay? I don't see any questions, so I'm just going to keep going. And then we'll do 28, which is the final one for today. Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmi Malini. Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmi Malini. Kshonim Imam Oshadhi Viruddham Nidhim. Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa. Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Namah Iti. In the flood, at the end, what was that? In the flood, at the end of the Yuga, your power carried me and this world, the treasure house of all vegetation and herbs, obeisance to the self of all living things. Bhavan Yuganta Arnava. So in the Yuga Anta Arnava. This is a catastrophic. Some cycles end in different ways. But every cycle, major cycle, needs a reset event. So some cycles end with water acting as the agent of the reset. And that would be called Yuganta Arnava. I didn't put this in at all, but I should find some way to work this into the English. There's a nice saying, Urmi Malini. Urmi Malini, again, it has implications of something very beautiful. Something that moves in a very wavy way. And it's the ocean. The ocean has Urma Malini, which is like necklaces or strands or rows of Urma, which are like waves. So there was a lot of waves in this ocean. People were not able to swim. But then this fish rescued Kshoni, which is the earth. So see, also this implies that water and earth have a harmonious relationship. Air and fire have a harmonious relationship. But water and fire and air and earth, etc., air and water, fire and earth, they don't have harmonious relationship with each other. For astrological purposes, this is an important lesson. Let me see what Jonathan says here. But this world has examples of people sacrificing their lives to save people they don't even know. Is that real? It's real. But when push comes to shove, it's real, but they may not do it. Like recently somebody brought up the topic of people pleasing. People pleasing is great. That should be our ideal. We should try to be people pleasers. But actually the fact of the matter is when you see a people pleaser, they're not really a people pleaser. It's just that they have a weakness in themselves and they don't want to upset other people because they're scared of dealing with it. They don't want to deal with it. So similarly, the qualities, sometimes Prahlad, this was in Prahlad's discussion when he was talking about what's really something attractive. When he was talking, the earth element was about things that are actually beautiful. And Prahlad was saying, what's really beautiful? Do people really have any beautiful qualities? All of the good things that they do are actually really just mimics of good things, but they're based on weaknesses. They're based on needs and flaws and faults. But occasionally you find very good people that they have a particular set of flaws and faults and neediness, which is very good, which encourages them to be very good and helpful and everything. And that's good. It's not like it's not good. It is very good to sacrifice yourself for other people, etc., etc. But in the bottom of the deep qualities, they don't really have the motive for the other person. It would be, I can't live without this person, so I would rather die trying to help them keep living. And then, besides that, even if they work matsvarajvara, even if they do have the intentions to be good and they work really hard, they don't have the power to actually protect somebody else. Flatlander says, are we talking about reset from one universe to another? You would have to define what a universe is. There's no reset from one universe to another. A universe is a self-contained unit. That's why it's called a universe. It's the reset of things within one unit, within one universe. All right, let's see what this last bit was. So the earth and the water, they get along with each other. The water element rescues the earth. The earth element also supports the water. So the Matsya-Avatar saved Kshoni, the earth. And what's important about Kshoni, the earth, is that she's the source of food. The earth is the source of food and medicine. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Forgot to plug in the battery. You plugged in, right? That was double close. All right. So Kshoni is what is the basis for the growth of Oshada. Oshada is a kind of an herb. Technically, Oshadi means, you know what, the meaning is very important. The kind of plant that if you forget to water, there's certain plants that if you forget to water them for a week, you still don't really notice it. But there's another plant, like if you forget to water it on time, it starts to wilt. Those kind of plants that are super sensitive to water, they're called Oshada. Because they're dependent on apas, or water. And then there's viruddha, which means the plants that are very easy to uproot. So like vegetables and little agricultural things are viruddha. So herbs and vegetables, vegetations. If you don't have the earth, you can't get food. And if you don't have food, you can't have animals. So the earth is called the Nidhi of Oshadi and Viruta, the treasure house of those things. Your power carried me and this world, the treasure house of all vegetation and herbs. That's it, right? Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti. So therefore, Namas Tasmai, as respects to this Matsya avatar, who is Jagat Prana Ganatmana, the real self within all the beings. Good? Any last questions? I think we'll just go over this since I made this nice presentation. I'll present it one more time. And then we'll end. So just to recap. This could be a little bigger. Why is it that? There we go. So this is Bu divided into the 4 cardinal sections. Bhadrashva Hari Ketumal Ramyaka. And then it also has a central section, Ilavrita. The divinity of the central section is Sankarshana. And when we heard about that, we got a lot of astronomical information about the role of gravity and how gravity creates mass, mass creates form, and that these things develop relationships to each other based on this gravity, and there's kind of a hierarchy of power on the amount of gravity. Then in the east was the horse. In the horse section, Bhadrashva, there was a horse-headed incarnation. And there we heard about fire element, which is anchored in Aries. Fire brings clarity to things, so you can see what something is and what it isn't. You can see what's right and what's wrong. So you can see what's dharma and what's adharma. So you can make decisions. So fire is decisive and clear and interested in rules and rights and wrongs. Then we went to the south, where we got, in Harivarsha, we got Narahari. And we got the area here is the earth element, as is rooted in Capricorn. So we heard about artha, things that have actual value, prosperity, what's really worth anything, health, wealth, beauty. But what is it really? What is real wealth? What is real beauty? What's real health? What's real prosperity? Then we went to the west, Ketumala, where we heard about Kama and Kamadeva, the divinity there. This is talking about the air element rooted in Libra. And here we heard about desire, romance, sexuality, and pleasure. Those are the qualities of Kama and air, the air element. Interaction, intercourse, and exchange between people. And then we came up here, what we did today, the northern section, Ramyaka, which is the water section of the ecliptic, based on Cancer. And so the qualities of the water element are that it's the unseen force behind everything, and it's the nourishing force behind everything. Okay? Thank you for your time and your company. I'll see you again soon for more Bhagavatam and more Paladipika at the beginnings of the weeks. Oh, Bardo says something. The cross of perfect incarnation. Should we flip it? You can flip it if you want, but then you have east on the weird side. Thanks, guys.